Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attacker Productions. Today, I make our joined once again by Jake and Jimmy.
Well, what's going on, y'all?
You did it backwards.
Just to annoy you. Today, we're going over yellow stuff. And not just any yellow stuff, but the Lord Slug package that was dropped yesterday. I'm excited to go over these cards. I'm a Slug player, back from the old school Slug to the Slugs that hugs. And now we got the yellow Slugs. Well, we got more yellow Slugs. So let's get into it. Oh yeah, buttons. Click them. This is one of the leaders that starts with a different life total, so permanent. You start the game with 6 life. When a Slug Army's card with a combo cost of 1 would leave your battle area, you may place it in your Z energy instead. If you do, place 1 of your Z energy in the owner's drop. This is very interesting interaction because then you get to choose one, and then the other one, the permanent, hits the second one, so you get technically do 2, but you're technically just cycling another one out.
Yeah, and if you're using those cards to like pressure on board, you get value when your opponent removes them.
Auto discard 1 Slug Army card from your hand. When this card attacks, draw 2. Awaken when your life is 2 or less, or your opponent has 2 or more energy, and 2 or more Slug Army cards are in your Z energy. You may draw 2 cards, switch up to 1 of your energies to active mode, and then add the top card of your deck to your life.
Yeah, I mean, it can keep pace with other leaders, and what I find really interesting is that you gain a life when you awaken.
Yeah. Once you've awakened, Lord Slug in his prime, permanent, once a Slug Army card with a combo cost of 1 will leave your battle area. It's the same permanent from the front side, which is pretty nice. Auto, exact same auto, discard 1 Slug Army card from your hand, draw 2. Activate battle for 1 yellow energy once per turn. Use up to 1 mono yellow Slug Army card with a combo cost of 1 from your drop and from your drop in a combo with its skills negated for the turn. So that's interesting because we'll see more battle cards down the road. We'll see certain cards are affected differently when comboed or when cards are being comboed, and when we see those, we'll go over those cards. So far, it seems pretty basic. The engine just wants to put cards in your drop to combo them back out, or even just cycle them for yourself.
I think the activate battle is pretty relevant. We've seen similar activate battles in this previous set, but a lot of them were locking to during your turn only. Like we've seen Truman Salsa played a little bit on the opponent's turn, but this is both turns, and you're getting pretty much at minimum a 10k combo. Of course, you're still paying the 1 energy for it, but it seems pretty decent. Decent. It's a little bit of a hand extension. The auto is pretty good. I like that you get it on both sides, so you're not really racing to awaken to start filling your hand up. The permanent, you get, like Jake said, you get a little bit of value out of the cards leaving. You kind of put a placeholder card in your Z energy for the cards that you actually want in your Z energy, being your mainly 3 drops from the list.
So we're going to start with going over the Z leader and going to the Z battle cards after that. So starting with the Z leader, Lord Slug, Colossal Conqueror. For 1 energy, when your life is 3 or less, yellow Lord Slug. I wish it was just Lord Slug, but understandable. Permanent bond 3, this card gains double strike. Auto, when this card attacks, draw 1 card and use up to 1 mono yellow Slug Army card with a combo cost of 1 from your drop and a combo with its skills negated for turn. Activate battle once per turn. Use up to 1 Slug Army card from your hand in a combo. What I like about this one is that the activate battle on this one, kind of very similar to the other one, but it doesn't cost you anything, and keep in mind the auto is giving you a combo as well, and you could combo off any card from your hand with this card's effect as well.
I do like the activate battle being able to kind of cheat around the 1 cost combos a little bit, which is like really the deck's main restriction that I've seen so far. One thing that I do find kind of strange is that this Z leader awakens at 3 life. And the front side of the leader, unless you meet the requirements, doesn't awaken until 2 life.
Yeah.
So kind of like a strange situation going on there.
Yeah, you do go back up to 3 off of the awaken on the front side, or on the front side of the leader. But that life is usually not very relevant. 3 is kind of a weird number to be at with the amount of triple strike that's in the game right now and how readily available almost every single archetype in deck has a readily available triple striker.
Yeah.
And if we look back at something like King Piccolo, who had a very similar effect, you could almost use that your Awaken as a get out of jail free card if they were swinging with something double strike at 2 life and Awaken, you get out of it, you straight by with 1 life. But where double strike has kind of been replaced by triple strike on most top ends of decks, I think the 3 is kind of irrelevant. So kind of weird numbers in this deck. I think this deck, these numbers would have been far more powerful in the previous set, but in the current Zenkai meta, I think 3 is a dangerous place to be at.
Going over to Z battle cards, we got Angela, defensive prowess, blocker. It's a 1 energy, 1 Z energy, but it's a blocker. Permanent bond 2 Slug Army. This card gets plus 11,000 power during your turn. Auto limit 1. When this card is played, look up top 7 cards for your deck. Add up to 1 Slug Army card with energy cost of 5 or less among them to your hand. Shuffle your deck. And if you added a card to your hand, place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck, or place 1 of your battle cards with a combo cost of 1 in its owner's drop area. I like the idea of searching and potentially cycling.
Yeah, this could also proc the leader effect, but that would cost you a Z energy in order to put the combo cost of 1 battle card that you remove from play into the Z energy. I'm starting to see a theme with this deck that it's kind of like turning me off from it a little bit, is that nothing really gains advantage. Like, this card puts a card in your hand, but it costs you a card. The combo, like 1 plus 10Ks are, some of the effects you get doing that are pretty strong, but it's costing you energy. Like, there isn't a whole lot of ways to, like, cheat out, like, value in this deck. And I feel like it's, at least the cards we've seen so far have all been a little bit too fair.
I will say, costing a card makes sense, because a lot of card interactions that play similar to this, you're playing the card from your hand, where this one's coming from your Z energy. So it's almost like the same interaction. Like, you're playing from your hand, so you have to get rid of that card since you're playing it from another source.
I thought that at first too, but like costing a Z energy is the same thing as costing a card out of your hand effectively, because you had to combo that card at some point.
I agree with Jake. I feel like not a lot of this deck is giving you much advantage, and on the surface level, from just reading these cards, of course, we have not done extensive testing with these cards. None of us have played these cards in a deck yet, so we don't know how the archetype flows in gameplay. This is just our first initial thoughts off of reading the cards and our evaluation, but like all of these cards just feel like you're not gaining anything off of it. There's nothing that that warrants losing out on the advantage you gain off of these cards, like the additional costs. But that could all change when we actually play the deck.
And going over the actual rest of the deck, we're going to start with the 1-drop battle cards. We got 2 to start with. We got Kakuja. It's a barrier. Auto, when this card is played, draw 1 card. Auto for 1 yellow energy. When this card is used in a combo from your battle area, look up to 10 cards from the top of your deck. Play up to 1 yellow Slug Army card with energy cost of 3 and combo cost of 1 among them. And if you played a card, shuffle 1 card from your hand into your deck. And the other one drop is Gyoshu. Barrier. Auto, when this card is played, look up the top 3 cards from your top of your deck. Add up to 1 Slug Army card among them to your hand, and place the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. Auto for 1 yellow energy. When this card is used in a combo from your battle area, play up to 1 yellow Slug Army card with energy cost of 1, combo cost of 1 from your hand. So early on, they're great searchers or a drawer, but then you could combo them off to play for 1 energy to play a 3-drop onto the battlefield.
These cards are, I think these are probably the best cards out of what we've seen so far. Just off of the value alone and the multi-use aspect of them, I think these cards are fantastic, because there is quite a few, even outside of the set, there is quite a few really good yellow 3-drop Lord Slug cards or Slug's Army cards. One of them being Super Namekian, the other being a fantastic overlooked Anguilla from Battle Evo, I believe so.
Yeah, I think both of those cards are 0/5s though, and I think
Yeah,
these guys
yeah.
have to
I
play
think
the.
I think the Anguilla is a one cost. I will double check that. But just on the theme of 3-drop slug cards, those are fantastic cards.
Oh yeah, and those should definitely like get a look if you're like putting this deck together. I do the first of these 1-drops. I like I think a little bit more than the second one, but I agree with Jimmy. Like this is more of the direction I was hoping to see. I think most cards that like play a card from deck like this, those cards come in with their skills negated, and these kind of get around that. And for that, I'm more okay with like shuffling a card from my hand to the bottom.
Yeah, I apologize. I am thinking of Giant Force, not Battle Evo. Anguilla the Invader, a 3-drop, 1 cost 10k. She is a green yellow, and I will reread this card again, but that just says 1 yellow,
Yeah, so
not
it'll
mono
count
yellow.
for it.
Yeah.
So and that card is incredible. It's one of the cards that I've always tried to shoehorn into my successor based strategies. Yeah, I think it's a very slept on card.
Going into the 3-drops, we have Anguilla, Lord Slug's Henchman, Blocker, Permanent Bond 2. While this card is in active mode, it gains Barrier. If your leader is Lord Slug, when this card is used in a combo, choose up to one of your Yellow Slug army cards, and it gains Double Strike for the battle. Activate Battle. Use up to one Mono Yellow Slug's army card with a combo cost of 1 from your hand in a combo. And negate its skills for the game. Sorry, negate this skill for the game. This is one of those things where I was kind of like, cool, there's benefits for comboing these cards off, but if I recall correctly, the Lord Slug's Activate Battle says with its skills negate it for a turn, so you couldn't really combo this card off unless you actually paid for it or use something like another one of these cards' ability to play that card or combo that card off. Like potentially getting Double Strike and a 10k plus, I mean, there, boom, no more Ferdinand Champas for this deck. You got it covered.
This reminded me a lot of like King Cold and like what the fields do for you in that deck.
I felt like this card is just a bit under tuned compared to a lot of the other cards with similar effects. I'm mainly thinking of SS or Gogeta currently, of comboing your own battle cards to give your leader card the Double Strike. I feel like if this card had a little bit better keyword skills on it, maybe Double Strike itself and a bigger body than just 4,000, I feel like this could be an amazing pressure piece of being able to swing with it and then later on combo it off as well. This being one of the cards that you play off of the 1-drop combo searchers. I feel like outside of playing it off of the 1-drop combo searcher, you're never going to tap 3 for this card to put it on field. So I feel like if it had better keyword skills, that would warrant maybe putting this card on field. But having it's a deck's built-in a Double Strike Champa is nice.
Lord Slug, Craving for Youth. Deflect unique. When this card attacks, play up to one Yellow Slug army card with energy cost of 1 from your deck, shuffle your deck, and this card gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. Auto, if your leader card is Yellow Lord Slug card, when this card is used in a combo, it gains plus 5,000 combo power for the battle. So one of the things that if you do it from your hand, fantastic. It's a 15k combo for 1 energy, but this one can be played by comboing off 1 of the 1-drops, and now when you swing with this card, you're playing another 1-drop afterwards to continue that cycle of play.
Immediately, this makes me want to go grab the 1-drop Slug from Giant Force and draw a card, and then evolve into Super Namekian. And also the back end of this card, the plus 5 additional combo power is really good. I think this is kind of edging out those 1-drops as the most powerful card in the list to me at this point. It enables a really strong play line. If you go get that 1-drop Slug, you're going to draw a card on swing. I guess the 10k kind of sucks, but you're mostly going to be comboing this off most of the time anyway, just for a big 15k.
Well, the 10k is so you can play it off the Gyoshu.
Yeah.
And the Kakuja. There we go.
Kakuja, there you go.
Wizard guy.
Yeah. Now I can't speak at all. Little green dude. Unique dual attack permanent permanent bond 4. This card gets plus 5,000 power. Auto once per turn. When this card attacks, play 1 meta token. It isn't once per turn auto, so you're at least getting 1, which is nice. If your leader card is Lord Slug, when this card is used in a combo, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, switch it to rest mode. I think the main theme overall is once you establish the 3-drops, you're never going to use them as blockers, and you want to make sure you at least have another card on there so their bond's active, so they have barrier, and you're just activating the battles, and then you immediately block with them afterwards, because like you're not going to pay 3 like we mentioned earlier. These cards aren't worth paying 3 for, so you want to get them off using their effects or just comboing them off for their other abilities.
I like the theme of all of these cards having multiple uses and unique use cases for both of their effects. But it just feels like you're jumping through too many hoops to get the card on field for fairly lackluster effects. And then the combo, while you need it for the deck, some of the combos just feel like lesser versions of cards that already exist. Like, if I'm going to pay 1 for this card, I'd rather just pay 1 for a black Kamehameha. I guess this card is nice and like stuff, again, like the SS4 Gogeta matchup where you can combo it off and you don't have to activate any skills. You still get a plus 10k. That's nice, but I don't know. I feel like these cards just are a little bit too fair. Exactly the auto here. Why is this once per turn? Is it too bad to have a dual attack 15k that can essentially become a 20k on attack if you combo off the token? We already see cards like in blue, they have the
Goku versus Pycon.
Goku versus Pycon that, you know, is going to be comboing stuff from the drop area, just insane advantage off a double strike. In the same color, the Pan, that plays off of playing a Z battle card. She's a dual attacker. Of course, she's only 15k when she combos, but still the amount of advantage that she gains over this card that you're jumping through more hoops to get. Let us just play 2 tokens. Like,
yeah. I do still think that's one of the better ones. Out of the ones we've seen, getting the token is nice because you can apply the combo power wherever you want it.
Of course, yeah.
I think overall I agree with Jimmy, is that this deck is just kind of like, some of these cards kind of get its own way. And after you said Black Kamehameha, I'm kind of starting to think that what they're trying to do is, with this archetype, your tech pieces are part of the archetype. And then the slots in the deck where you would play your tech pieces, you're going to be playing other stuff because their goal is for you to play this over Black Kamehameha.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think if you play this deck, you would need this and Black Kamehameha because it's just not quite good enough.
Yeah. Also, Bond 4 on that permanent is just absurd.
I think I think that's why it's getting the token at least once, because they want to make sure you're getting that Bond 4 off.
Yeah.
Going into the next 3-drop, it's a skillless. All right. Let's go into the 4-drop.
No, I want to talk about the skillless. I think this is very important. Like, come on. Like, I'm already jumping through so many hoops. Give me a free 30k, please. I'll just go play fucking Dark Broly.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's go to the next cards. We're going a little long today. All right. Going to the 5-drops. Little green dude with multiple green dudes on him. Bond 3, when this card gains dual attack. Auto, when this card is played, you play 1 meta token. Activate main, limit 1 for 1 yellow energy. If I gotta say it now, a meta matcha card with energy cost 3 in a combo cost of 1 is in your Z energy, you can play this card from your hand. So pretty much, if you combo off the one earlier that puts a card in rest mode, you can pay 1 yellow energy during your turn to just play this 5-drop afterwards, which is a 15k that plays a token and it's a dual attack for 1 energy. That ain't bad, but there's a lot of work that needs to go into the process to get to there, I feel like. But then again, there's a lot of work that goes into the Gogeta deck to make sure you're getting your fusion off as well, so you get the combo cards off. But it's the kind of theme of this deck. They want you to utilize the Z energy for this set.
Being a 15k base just really turns me off of this card.
What I like,
Uh,
real quick, is that you can combo that card off on turn 1, and this card's immediately active on turn 2. So it's a 15k dual attack on turn 2 if you have 2 other cards in play as well.
Yeah, that's. I mean, of course, like again, you get the token, but you still have to establish something on build 2. So either way, you're pretty much tapping out to be able to get a 15k dual attacker, and of course, you do get a 5k or basically a 5k combo you can apply, because I don't think you're ever going to be swinging with a meta token for any sort of damage unless it's at like a baby unison. I do think the 0 plus 5k is going to be relevant, because you do have some cards that are archetype based that are not going to be clunky when it comes to defending smaller end attacks. I again, I must sound like a broken record. I feel like every one of these cards just slightly too fair for every other hoop you have to jump through, and we're also still have to remember you start at 6 life.
I think we've said that about almost every set so far, though. I feel like there's a lot of fairness in this set compared to set 18. I feel like.
Oh yeah.
It kind of seems like the reverse of what they did with Rise and then Vermilion Bloodline, where Rise was really powerful, but Vermilion, a lot of the decks in Vermilion were just better than what was in Rise. And I think we're having the opposite here, where the decks in Zenkai are just really like solid and well designed and strong. They're clearly like pushed to be more meta decks. Where this set, other than Green Gogeta, I haven't seen anything in any particular color that makes me want to switch off of a deck I'm currently playing. Again, other than Green Gogeta, like underline.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a particularly underpowered set. I think it's always good to have fun off-meta options that don't have to compete with the upper echelon of the game. We have a relatively casual local, so it's sometimes fun to break out a deck like this and just dick around. So I don't think this is a bad thing per se. It's just I'm down on it because I want my big beefy men. I want big meaty men slapping meat.
Yeah, I think Jimmy and I, like, to use like a Magic term, we're more like spiky players, where we're kind of like more competitive and kind of want to like see a card and like some people look at a card and want to play it. We look at a card and want to break it. How do we make this unfair? And personally, I haven't really been too successful at that. Like, most of my decks have just been like copied, but I do think as far as like set power level, it's good to mix things up. But I think that if this is part of the Zenkai block, it kind of needs to stand up a little bit better.
Of course. Anguilla, tell us about the card Bancroft.
I was waiting for you guys to get done talking because I'm going to cut.
No, tell us about the card Bancroft.
Going into the 5-drop Anguilla, has a very similar activate main, which is great. Activate main, 1 yellow energy. If there's a 3 cost 1 combo Anguilla in your Z energy, play this card. Blocker, permanent, bond 2. While this card's in active mode, it gains barrier. Auto was returned. When you activate this card's blocker, draw 1 card and choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards. Switch it to rest mode. I do like that a lot more than the little green dude effect, which is a combo cost. Yep. So you block 1 attack, rest another card, draw a card. It does lose barrier once you do that, so it's now able to be hit by other things, but it's a 16k. That can survive a lot of hits. Yeah,
I think this card's sick. I really like the design of this card. This is one of the few cards where I'm actually like up on it. I while it's not a fantastic push card, I think this is an awesome defensive option. And I know for a lot of people, barrier is a very frustrating skill to play against. I think this is a very clever way of making barrier a little bit more fair in the grand scheme of while it's an active mode, it's protected. It cannot be attacked unless, of course, you can attack in active mode. But it's usually having a card standing up. It's protected from all things except for skills. But giving the card barrier while in active mode basically makes it untouchable outside of ignoring barrier. And then when you switch to rest mode, you have to make that choice. Am I ready to let go of this card or put it in the line of danger by turning it sideways? So I think this is a fantastic way to make barrier a little bit more manageable.
You get a little bit of a rebate when you block too, right? You draw a card.
Yeah, like I think this card's great. I still think you have to jump through a little bit too many hoops to get the full value out of it. But I like the design of this card personally.
I just realized it's once per turn because there is an old set 3 yellow card that will restand this card.
You talking about Zarbon? Fucking Zarbon. Shout out to Aaron. I know he's not going to watch this video, but shout out to Aaron. That's his favorite card.
Yeah, I just realized I use that card a lot in my future Gohan deck, and I was like, that's why it's supposed to turn, because it's not like a dual attack or a dual blocker, but because there are cards that can restand it. 5-drop Lord Slug, deflect, dual attack, bond 3. This card gains double strike like that. Auto, when this card attacks, use up to 1 mono yellow Slug's army card with combo cost of 1 from your drop with its combos in your combo with its skills negated for turn. Activate main, limit 1 for 2 yellow energy. If you have 3 or more energy and a Lord Slug card with energy cost of 3, combo cost of 1, in your Z energy, play this card from hand. That's not bad for a dual attack, potentially a dual attack double strike. Now, the auto will go off every single time, which is nice. So it's going to be a 20k swing dual attack double strike without you having to swing any cards in your own hand.
And you can put those into the Z energy, right? If
Right
you're
afterwards,
comboing from
yeah.
the drop. Yeah. Yeah, this is nice. This is the direction I think the deck should go.
Going over the 8-drop Lord Slug, triple strike, we talked about earlier, triple strike is becoming more of a thing. Auto, when this card is played, play up to 2 Slug army cards with energy cost 3 or less that don't have a Lord Slug in their character name from your deck. Shuffle your deck. Already, I'm liking that. Auto, bond 3. When this card attacks, if you have a Z battle card in play, choose one of your opponent's battle cards or unisons, and it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. Yellow doing what it does best. And activate main for 3 yellow energy. If you have 4 more energy, and there are 2 Lord Slug cards with a combo cost of 1 in your Z energy, and with 1 energy combo cost of 3. Wow, that's so confusing.
Yeah. 1 with an energy cost of 3 and 1 with an energy cost of 5.
Yes.
That's so strange.
So you have to have both the 3 and the 5-drop slugs in your Z energy in order to play this card for 3 energy. But once you establish this card, it's an 8-drop. Very few things are going to be able to hit it as it comes in play. Then it's going to play potentially 2 more cards. So as long as you have 1 other card in play, you're getting that bond 3 out off afterwards. Hell, you could just play the 30k skillless.
Yeah. I mean, I do that in Bardock. When I play the 4-drop Bardock, I go get a big 30k skillless Fascia.
You can you can't play Super Naked. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a good card. Doesn't have barrier, but once you play it and once you swing it at least once, you're getting all those effects off right off the bat.
And I mean, if you want to dump the clip on turn 3, this is going to be rough for your opponent to get over. I mean, they might just take the damage, but can they get out of little green guy dual attacking you and then maybe, something else behind that?
I feel like there's so many hoops you have to jump through to make sure that this card hits the field. And when there's a deck that has a lot of moving parts, even if it has a lot of consistency boosters, the more moving parts you have, the easier that it is going to be to brick. And I try not to evaluate decks off of its brick potential, but that is something to think about when it comes to a deck of this nature. Where if you look at something like Sin Shinron, it's big triple strike 8-drop. You already have it. Like, there's no strings attached. There's so many strings attached to this card that I think sometimes this card could be a detriment to your deck overall if you're playing into it.
This is a turn 4 play for starters. Like, you cannot play this on any earlier turn, unfortunately. And like you talked about, that 8-drop Sin, you can play it turn 2. I've seen people play it turn 2. It's just stupid, ridiculous.
Well, turn 3, you have to have 3 energy, but it's 2 energy for a card that is pretty much better than this. You don't get a bunch of free play off of it, but like we said before, the 3 free plays in this are the
Options to play.
Other options are kind of lackluster. You do get quite a bit of value for turning 3 cards in your energy sideways. It's just all of the setup you have to do beforehand is what is kind of turning me off from this archetype. Or this particular card, I should say.
Overcomplicated for underwhelming amount of payoff.
Cleaning up with the super combo. It's a new
I don't
super
like
combo.
his face.
It's a new super
I don't
combo.
like.
Shut
I
the
don't like
fuck
his,
up.
I just don't like his face.
It's a
I'm not. I wasn't going to run this super combo anyway, but I'm definitely not after his damn face.
It's a new super combo. That's all I gotta say. Wait, do you know what these
Card
ones do?
sucks. You have to have 2 or more Z energy or a Z battle card in play, and your leader card, or if your leader card is a Z leader.
Yeah.
I sound like a seal over
So
here.
pretty much, as long as you have 2 cards in your Z energy, you can play this card no matter what. Cling to Life, the extra card. Activate battle, choose one of your Slug army cards, and it gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. Additionally, if it's your opponent's turn, use up to 1 Slug army card with a combo cost of 1 from your hand in a combo. So additionally, you're paying 1 to potentially get a 20k combo if you do it with a 3-drop Slug.
I mean, little perk 5,000. I like seeing more Sensu being like effects of 5k for the turn. I think every color should get one. I think every color should get a generic one. But I will settle for archetype locked ones. But yeah, there's nothing really bad about this card. I think the art's pretty sick. There's lots of jokes to be made. And not much else to say about it other than it's just a solid card for the archetype.
I mean, joking aside, I wish we had more arts like this in general, where it was kind of more of a focused in action shot or something, instead of every extra card being just almost indistinguishable from a battle card just based on the art.
And going over the final extra card, it's Gohan's Whistles. It's a counterattack, limit 1 if your leader is Lord Slug card, and you choose one of your Lord Slug cards that have to give it 5,000 power for the turn. Negate the attack and choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 4 or less. Switch to rest mode. Bond 2. If your life is 3 or less, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying energy costs. What I like about this one is that the only requirement is that if your leader card is Lord Slug. So this could be a negate you could play in older packages of Lord Slug if you wanted to.
Yeah, a little bit of retroactive support. Overall, I think it suffers from the problem that almost every card in this deck suffers from, is that it's just overly complicated for a small amount of payoff.
And obviously, but being mentioned, if this is a card you're playing for free during your turn, don't choose your leader. Choose one of the battle cards on the board, because if you're only stopping one attack with this card, they're gonna have more attacks coming afterwards. You don't want to weaken leader for that.
I think the -5 again requires too much setup for the little payoff, because you're gonna have to have another Lord Slug target in play. And you don't want to ever target your leader for this, because it's just going to make you a setting duck. I do like the.
I would be okay with it real quick if it choose one of your opponent's battle cards, leaders, or unisons. Because
yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like I was just mainly harping on the -5, but only targeting battle cards. We've seen previous strategies that really don't play battle cards at all and only focus on the unison, which those have kind of died out. But yeah, very, very limiting in this card. Shout out to Jake earlier. He pointed this out, the little music note. I didn't see that in the first look at this art. And I do agree. I think they need to do some sick foiling on that. I think they need to do the first ever SR treatment foiling on a common in this set.
I mean,
Gohan is a campaign rare for this set, so
I wish this card was better, so that there could just be a giant music note in the background on the event pack version or something.
Yeah.
So with that being said, thank you for tuning in. That is Yellow Lord Slug. Yeah. We get more testing and we'll know more from that point on. Let's say it that way. Thank you for tuning in. Jake, lead us out.
Thank you, Bancroft. Remember to read your cards, know your plays, let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to, and fluff out.